This is Sarah from Rehoboth Beach Public Library, and thank you for joining us for this week's Writer's Salon. As a reminder, this is a NaNoWriMo event. It is a virtual event, and we will be meeting on Mondays at 6:30 through Max UC throughout the month of November. If you would like to participate with us on Monday evenings, you can go to our calendar, linked in the description below if you are watching via YouTube, and register for the next Monday's event. Writer's Salon is a virtual free write time. We will be including a warm up at the beginning. We will be doing writing sprints. There is optional sharing for those who are participating on Monday evenings with us that we do not include on YouTube. And it's a time for author and writer support as well, because as we are all battling through November, we need some help sometimes, and we need the support of our fellow authors. So we're going to kick off tonight with a prompt. As we did last week, I am going to give everyone about 5 minutes to write the prompt. I'm going to bring it up on the screen now. Our warm-up prompt is supplied from Ginny D, who is a popular Dungeons and Dragons influencer and tabletop influencer is the term, I guess, to use. She has her own YouTube channel and her own Instagram and other platforms as well. This is one of the 50 questions that she supplies in her 50 character builder questions. And even though they're meant as background development questions for a tabletop character, I think they're also great questions to ask yourself as an author for your main character or for all of your characters, really. So this is actually question 8, since today is November 8th. And the question is, do you think you're attractive? So we're going to spend 5 minutes, and you're going to write as your character, your main character, do you think you're attractive? Why do you think you're attractive? What makes you attractive to yourself? And we're going to write for 5 minutes about that. Okay, time is up. And we are going, I thought it would be fun. We didn't go over this last week, but we had a very specific reason to name the name this program Writer's Salon. And that is because of Gertrude Stein and her writer salons in the early 20th century at the home of her and her brother, 27 Rue de Fleurens in Paris, France. Now, if you are unfamiliar, Gertrude Stein was a popular author in the early part of the 20th century. And her brother, Leo, had art critic aspirations. And at that time in Paris, a lot of artists and authors, it was kind of like a mecca for artists and authors and poets and so forth, just as Paris has always been. But in 1907, Gertrude and Leo started these evenings of kind of sharing and inspiration at their home on Rue de Fleurens. And some of the famous artists and authors that attended are Picasso, Matisse, Hemingway, and philosopher Apollon Apollinaire. I'm butchering his name, but uh, they were some of the attendees. And for Gertrude, they were vital for testing ideas. And she would always greet the knock, hello. And the visitors would say, my name is blank, and I was sent by blank. And Gertrude would say, entrez-vous. And anyone was welcome. The connections or a formality, but it was a network of artists, philosophers, storyteller, journalists, and patrons and supporters of the arts. And so when we were discussing what to name it, we were like, this is the perfect idea and the perfect name for this program. Okay, so what we're going to do next is a 15-minute writer sprint. If you are unfamiliar with writer sprints, it is a timed writing period. You write as many words as you can in the allotted period of time. In our case this evening, 15 minutes. And you're just going to try and get as many words on the page without censoring yourself, without editing yourself. You're just going to let the words flow. If you have a current project, you can certainly write in that project, or you can develop. What I will do is I will bring up today's I will bring up today's prompt that we shared on Facebook and Instagram, and you can write for 15 minutes on that prompt if you do not have a current project, particularly a NaNoWriMo project, that you are working on. And stop. That was 15 minutes, hopefully. Hopefully you set your own timer. And I want to close tonight's meeting out with some going back to the salon idea that Gertrude Stein has continued. And I was recently reading At Home by Bill Bryson. I was actually listening to the audiobook. It's a wonderful book, and it's the history of his home where he lives in England, which is a Victorian parsonage. He gives each room kind of the history of that room, and it's wonderful. And he talks about, in chapter 7, the drawing room, which is the salon. Okay. So later on that page, it says, for a time in the 17th and 18th centuries, drawing room was challenged in more refined circles by the French salon, which was sometimes anglicized as saloon, but both words gradually became associated with spaces outside the home, so that saloon came first to signify a room for socializing in a hotel or on a ship, then a place for dedicated drinking, and finally, a little unexpectedly, a type of automobile. Salon, meanwhile, became indelibly attached to places associated with artistic endeavors before being appropriated from about 1910 by providers of hair and beauty treatments. Parlor, the word long favored by Americans for the main room of the home, was a kind of 19th century frontier feel to it, but in fact is the oldest word of all. It was used first in 1225, referring to a room where monks could go to talk. It is from the French parler, Parler, to speak. It was extended to secular contexts by the last quarter of the following century. So, as writers, or as a writer, I'm always interested in the history of words, but that sentence about salons being centers of the art world definitely made me think of this program while I was listening to the audiobook. So I would highly recommend this book as well, and any other Bill Bryson's books. They're wonderful reads also. Thank you for joining us tonight. Uh, I hope you had a good time, and I hope you were able to get some of your thoughts out of your head and onto the page. Remember, there are many links below, including a link to the Delaware Library System if you would like to place a hold on at home, and some information about Gertrude Stein and her writer salons as well. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next week.